Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Richest Men in Town podcast. I'm Mike Freeman, and along with my good friend and co-host Tyler Gould, we're excited to welcome you to our little podcast project. Tyler and I are just a couple of middle-aged husbands and dads driven to live our best lives. We want to be better every day, so here we'll be sitting down with great people. Not famous people, but great people that we admire, to learn their secret to living the rich life. Probably not the rich life you're thinking of. Our guests come in humbled and surprised at the invitation and hopefully leave feeling proud and grateful, realizing just how good they really have it. So pull up a chair, stay a while, and raise a glass with us as we toast our guests to the richest men in town.
All right, Tyler Gould, it is the most wonderful time of the year, right? We just had the opportunity to spend a couple of hours with our good friend, mutual friend, reunion of sorts for you, but Cal Hunter graced us with his presence. What are you taking away from our time with Cal?
And there's a lot to take away with Cal. I mean, look, we could sum up a lot of Cal. We spent, as usual, a couple hours with him. Cal spends a lot of time talking about the importance of longevity and the importance of love. And, you and I have both had an opportunity to sit with Cal and have Cal pour into us on some different things in more intimate settings. And this was just fun to kind of catch up and feel his energy as he talks about where he's at now and what he's learned through the process and the journey of life.
Yeah, and where he's at now, it is a young, dynamic place.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you look at the number of years, right? By definition, I don't know if a lot of folks would call Cal Hunter young, but like the way he's living his life, the mindset, the zeal that he's bringing each and every day, loving what he does, like that to me is exemplary. And like I got a ton out of it. Like honestly, couple of pages of notes for this one, right? So like
absolutely.
Disclaimer, sharpen your pencil because Cal brings it.
Yeah.
Like parents of young children, Cal Hunter's course was set on some serious decisions at the age of 5.
Yeah.
A promise to his dad at the age of 5 helps him avoid some stuff that's out there that trip up a lot of people,
Absolutely. And Mike, I loved our conversation that when we talked about timelines and the need for timelines or the need to get rid of timelines, and I won't spend a lot of time belaboring that, but Cal comes back to us with the question, or what? And I love that question. I'm going to start
every once in a while
to myself.
Every once in a while, we have a guest drop a liberating thing.
Yeah.
And to me, that felt liberating.
I totally agree.
Hey, that thing you're losing sleep over, or what? Right? Like, and hey, if we don't believe him, just take his perspective for a test drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're running races that aren't really races.
Yeah.
We're scrambling and wasting, we're spending, maybe wasting. We've got 24 hours, and what are we chasing? Right? What are we acquiring? Yeah. We talk a lot about in our time with Cal, we talk a lot about what matters most. And maybe take that activity, take a 3x5 card and just write down 5 things that to you matter most and carry that in your pocket for a stretch. Right? Yeah. And check in, because a lot of times we're spending minutes, hours, days, weeks, months.
Yeah.
Not on those things that matter most. So
it's always fun to spend some time with someone that has the energy and the insights that Cal has, who's a few steps further down the road than we are, and can give us a little bit of a heads up of what life looks like. And I appreciated that. I really felt like there was some fog cleared from my own mind in our conversation today with Cal. So,
I'm even loving what you shared. Just this idea of like, stop where you're at, look around, and ask, is there joy?
Yeah.
is there joy in what I'm doing? And if the answer is no too many times,
Yeah.
we got to make a change.
Yeah. Let's assess some things. Right.
And it's not like we got to change the way what we're doing. We got to change the way maybe we're doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can we change the way we're doing it and maybe focus on the relationship and not the task?
Yeah.
Because
I love that.
In our quiet times, when we start reflecting on what matters most, it's going to come down to relationships.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
It's going to come down. It's going to come down to that. And I just want to throw a highlighter, right? There's some fillets in here. There's some great things and some nuggets that Cal shares, but that reminder, sincere reminder to anyone listening that the fight is worth it.
Yeah.
The fight is definitely worth it. We are all George Bailey on a bridge. Let us please just pray and have that desire in our heart to live again, right? To get at it tomorrow, to do better, right? And I think that there's just some power in that. Hey, and dust off Mr. Kruger's Christmas. Let's get that thing going. It's Christmas
Amen,
season.
dude. It's right. We're bringing out all the classics.
Have a Jimmy Stewart marathon up in here.
You know what, Mike? It was a great night tonight. It's a great time of year, right? We talk about these topics all year round, but it's fun to be in December, right before Christmas, talking to a guy that looks like Santa Claus. We'll get a picture out for you guys. And, it was a good night. So, hey, everybody dust off your copies of It's a Wonderful Life as well.
Let's go.
Take a gander at that. And, Mike, Merry Christmas, man. This was a blast tonight.
Merry Christmas to you, Tyler. Merry Christmas to the Gould family. Merry Christmas to our richest men in town community, wherever you are. A to Z, right? We've got it. We've got it covered, Zambia. So thank you for supporting the program. Thank you to all of our guests for the way that they continue to show up each and every week. And we hope that our listeners will enjoy their time in this episode with the one and only Cal Hunter.
Well, I do have some kids home from college right now, and they did say to me today,
they're ready.
Yeah, when are we going to watch It's a Wonderful Life? So I said, hey, we'll just prime this bad boy up. We'll hit it soon. We're ready to go. So
well,
I like
it. Yeah. So I don't know if you know this, but our guest, you obviously know our guest tonight. We're super excited. The Cal Hunter is going to be joining us. Cal Hunter has deep ties here to the Reading area. You actually served with Cal in church leadership, but did you know, are you aware of like what he is around here for us on the Christmas scene?
I am. Yeah, he's a big deal.
He's the big guy.
Yeah, he's the big guy.
Every year he has the opportunity to get into character, and he is one of the best Santa Claus you'll ever see.
I have not had the privilege of seeing Cal as Santa Claus. However, I am of the opinion that Cal is pretty much great at everything Cal does. And so I'm just going to say, yeah, he is.
So one of these future self things, right? Like if Mike Freeman circa 1993 was told that however long ago, 30 years later, I would be sitting down and having an interview opportunity with Cal Hunter, I would have told you were crazy. At that time, I had celebrity shock.
Oh, did you really?
Cal Hunter was news. He was our news guy here in Northern California. And I had celebrity shock.
Well, look how far you've come.
And I'm like, get out of here. No way.
Well, now, Cal is probably sitting, he's in the green room right now. He's chilling out, right? And he's probably nervous.
And he's
as all
a
get
pro.
out. Well, I think he's sweating it. I think he's thinking richest man in town, Zambia. Like, what? How am I going to come off here? And it's our job, Mike.
42
it's our job
countries.
to let him feel good. He's got to come in calm.
Yeah.
And if you drop 42 countries on him, the guy's going to be sweating bullets the whole time.
42 countries. Do you know you and I had spent over 3,160 minutes together in 2023?
My wife might have had that tabulated actually at some point.
And my wife would say about 60 of those were probably useful.
Exactly. Exactly.
She just says, well,
funny, man.
Kelsey brothers, whatever.
Well, I'm excited. I'm really excited about having Cal on, and I think I'm on the record as saying Cal's one of my favorite people. You know that. I'm a huge Cal Hunter fan. He has been gracious to me and kind to me at every turn, and he has taught me a lot of things. It was interesting. I was actually in a meeting the other day, listening to someone conduct a meeting, and they were saying things in that, right? Because it's a part of that. It was a script that they were going off of. And it's a script that I created when I was serving in leadership, which is Cal Hunter's words verbatim. And they were saying it, and I was like, oh, Cal,
lives on, man. He's
living on down in San Diego. Dude.
You owe that guy a nickel, man.
I do, for sure. More than a nickel, man. There's a lot of things I think about in my life, and that Cal, what would Cal do in that situation? So I'm excited about tonight.
Well, so Cal, his day job, he does this. Like he's got the buttery tone. He lives behind a microphone, and broadcasting is his world. So like we want to put him at ease. I'm not going to lie, a few little butterflies creeping up right now, just thinking about what's about to go down. So
just remember, man, our Zambia,
but nothing a chug and eggnog won't, settle.
And you got to stay calm for our listeners in Zambia. They need to know that Mike he's got full control.
Yeah. Now, what do you think these numbers are? You think one dude is just downloading the heck out of every episode, or you think we actually have a following out there?
I think it's one dude that thinks it's a podcast about how to make it big, and he's yet to listen to it, but he's banking episodes right now, and he's about to crack into them.
We've got advice for how to make it big, Mr. Zambia. I actually, if I'm listening very carefully, I'm hearing the clamor for a Facebook Live event.
Oh yeah.
So we could throw this out there to the world and say, world, where you at? Tune in. Let us know what this is doing for you. That could be kind of fun.
I think we need to get our team on that. Let's get that one cooking.
Yeah, we'll go to the research and development team. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen in research and development, please make a note of that, would you? Thank you very much. Facebook Live.
And we say Facebook Live like it's cutting edge, right? It's like, breaking news. Facebook has this live feature.
Yeah.
Like my grandpa talking about it. the Facebook. Have you heard what this thing can do?
The old interwebs, man. It's an amazing thing. I tell you what.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, Mike, I'm excited to unleash Cal Hunter on the world of richest men in town. What do you think? Should we kick the doors open for him?
Let's go.
Right,
welcome this guy in.
Yeah, let's do it. So, yeah, have you heard the song? Now, I don't know who originally sang the song, because I have a version of Willie Nelson singing it, and I have a version of Toby Keith singing it. And it's called Don't Let the Old Man In. Have you heard this?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic. Toby Keith's version is amazing. He's got cancer. He's not doing so hot. And he sang this song in an award show, and I've been playing it on my guitar, and I'm loving it. But there's a line in this song, Mike Freeman, and this is what it says. It says, "Many moons I have lived, my body's weathered and worn. Ask yourself how old you would be if you didn't know the day you were born." I love that thought, man. Right? And when I got your text today.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Ask yourself how old you would be
if you didn't know the day you were born. And when I got your text today,
question.
Right, and I was reading your text, and it made me think of the song. I was like, oh yeah.
Well, let me break down the quote, right?
Yeah.
So This is Samuel Ullman, German immigrant, and Eisenhower made this quote famous, I think. Youth is not a time of life. It is a state of mind. It is not a matter of rosy cheeks, red lips, and supple knees. Oh, I appreciate that.
I would love a supple knee right now, though,
Supple
because my
knee.
knee is barking, bro.
It is a matter of the will, a quality of the imagination, a vigor of the emotions. It is the freshness of the deep springs of life. Youth means a temperamental predominance of courage over timidity of the appetite, for adventure over the love of ease. This often exists in a man of 60 more than a boy of 20. Nobody grows old merely by a number of years. We grow old by deserting our ideals.
Man, I love that. I love that quote a lot, and I feel like it was relatable. You know,
We grow old by deserting our ideals, almost like letting that old man in.
yeah.
How old would you be if you didn't know the day you were born?
I recommend to listen to that song. It's good. Willie's version is good, but I'm into Toby Keith's right now because he's going through some stuff. He's in the middle of cancer, and it kind of, as he sings it, man, I was really feeling it when he was singing it. I was like, man, this guy he's talking about it, you know?
Yeah.
He's not just singing a song.
Well, courage over timidity it's a youth thing, right? That's a youth thing.
Yeah.
And then that idea of adventure over ease. I think that ease is the gravitational pull of being old.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And not just the ease, the love of ease, right? But like, man, where's the adventure?
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
I love technology.
Cal Hunter, welcome to the richest men in town, brother. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well, and somewhat surprised to be here. Thank you for allowing me.
Man, this is awesome. Cal, now your screen on my screen is sideways. Is that? Let's see.
I was using the TV angle. Come on, man. You gotta go horizontal. Get that width going.
I know.
That's right.
Cal, it is so good to see you. I tell you what.
Well, what an honor this is. This is such an honor. Thank you.
Man.
So, what's the deal? Well, yeah, what's going on with you guys? What's the story?
Richest men in town is just bringing people together. Cal Hunter,
Yeah,
Tyler
right.
Gould, Cal Hunter. Good to see you guys back in action together.
Yeah, isn't that nice? Yep. Tyler and I got to serve together in a couple of things, and what a privilege it was then. And I'm excited to reconnect now. Yay!
Yeah. You and me both. It's exciting. Well, I'll tell you what, Cal. Mike and I have been doing this little podcast project for a few years now. And the question is always, who are the people that we admire most, that we want to have a chat with and maybe try to learn something from? And Cal, your name is always we're bantering back and forth on that. We're excited to have you in here. Finally, you're here with us. So.
Well, I'm just pleased that you asked, and I don't know about the admiration is actually on my way to you two men, because you're both great people, and I'm sort of scared, to be honest with you, but that's okay. Go ahead. No.
Well, hey, so Tyler, the rest of the story is, so when the invitation was made, this was a little while back, right? And I reached out
great backstory. Love this. Go ahead.
I reached out to Cal, and Cal says, yeah, on one condition. And we've been doing this. I think we're coming up on episode 150. And
Wow.
I've never had conditions thrown back at me. I've never had conditions, and I thought, oh man, I got to negotiate. Like, is he gonna want a swag package? Is he gonna want airfare? Like,
I was hoping for a sweatshirt and a cap, but anyway.
Yeah.
So he says, you come be play-by-play with me at Red Bluff High's football game.
Yeah.
So Cal Hunter owns a radio station, KBLF, in Red Bluff. all Northern California, but he is the voice of my alma mater high school football program. He says, "Hey, come on up." Boom.
And Mike said, like when today I'm on my way. And you know what, Tyler, he did a great job. It was so fun. The other guy who does the games with me, yeah, he said, I got to have this guy back now. I said, well,
October 20th,
he's pretty busy.
the Red Bluff High Spartans demolished the Enterprise Hornets.
Oh, did they ever? Oh boy, yeah.
41-8. And I got to experience it from the best seats in the house up in the press box. It was incredible.
Wasn't that fun? Isn't it fun? You see how lucky I am? When you talk about richest men, that's one of the things that an old guy like me that I've been doing, I played high school football very poorly, very barely, was lucky to get on the field, during timeouts and stuff. And and I just decided to become a student at that level of the game. And so when I got radio stations, I said, you know what? Nobody else is doing play-by-play. Let's do this. And I've been doing it there since 1997. And what a great thing. I haven't gotten any better at it, but I've been doing it a long time.
Well, Cal, a couple of things. Let's catch you up on a couple of things before, while we were waiting, while we were warming up the room before you came in. I was talking a little bit about 1993. Growing up, I thought the world of you. I did not know you personally. I knew you as the guy on TV, and I had kind of a celebrity thing about Cal Hunter. And then I started to associate with people that knew you personally, and I could not believe, like when I met my wife and her family, and they talked about you like they know you from the guy next door. I was just like, what are you talking about? This guy's like famous, right? And so the idea that 30 years from now, we are friends.
Yeah, exactly. We are. And I'm thankful for that.
That's
small
incredible.
Market news guy in a small market, did it for a long time. That's the secret to my success on every level, is just longevity. Keep going, man. Don't stop. So I was at the ABC there for almost 14 years. And it was a great experience. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. If I could do it again, I would. But I don't have the look, doing Santa Claus on TV. It's not working. But anyway.
Well,
but yeah,
Cal, we don't.
Yeah.
I don't throw around this term. We've been doing this for a little bit. We've had a lot of guests. I don't throw around this term very, very often. Ralph Collins kind of fits this. A pillar. I think that Cal Hunter. I think that Cal, your family.
Ralph is that. Yeah, Ralph is that.
I think that Cal, you and your family, what you have done in this community, really does rise to that level of pillar. So we love you, we appreciate you, and we're looking forward to where this goes tonight.
Well, that is so kind. Thank you. We're honored to be here. Since 1982, I came into town. President's Day weekend, I stayed at the old Shasta Hotel. And it was raining cats and dogs, and I'd left Idaho Falls, Idaho. I was offered a job here that weekend. So I flew back to Idaho Falls to go home, to get things ready to go. And I had a little Dodge Omni. Remember those little Dodge Omnis? Yeah. And it was snowed in at the Idaho Falls airport, covered up, so I couldn't get in. I looked up when I got there and I said, okay, I can take a hint. I'm going to Reading. I don't have to shovel the snow. So we've been here ever since. And I promised my family we weren't going to move again. I've had a couple of chances, but we did not. So we've stayed. And I'm so thankful to be here. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Longevity, right? Longevity.
Yep, exactly right. Keep plugging away, man. Just keep going,
Yeah, that's so awesome, man. That's so awesome. So,
also in that spirit of, we were talking a little bit about youth, because I remember as a young, impressionable, married man, young father, I remember going to Turkey Bowl games. And you would be there. You would be there with vigor, right? And just loving playing with the guys and all of those things. And every once in a while, I prime the pump a little bit, and I'll text Tyler and I'll be like, hey, these are some thoughts that I might have kind of going into tonight's episode. And the thought came to me of like, what does it mean to be young? Right. And I shared that quote, and I actually included you in the text so that you could have an idea, but just this idea of deep springs of life. Right. And it's this timidity over courage over timidity. And it doesn't exist. Old does not mean number of years. we become old by deserting ideals.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, I'm old, obviously. My hair's gray, my teeth are, replaced, all brand new. My eyes have been operated on. I mean, I'm an old guy, and yet I get up in the morning every day and I think, oh boy, I get to go do my radio show. On Friday night, I think, oh boy, I get to go do a football game. On Saturday, I say, oh boy, I get to go do my law talk show, the nationally syndicated program. And I think, man, I have lots of reasons to get up and keep going. And I found that I had a good friend of mine who once said to me, Cal, you ought to retire. And he did. And 2 years later, he died. And I said, you see, retirement has no lure for me. I'm just not excited about that. I don't want to get a pile of money and go do nothing. I want to have a reason to keep going. And I do. And I'm thankful for that. It's not just professionally. My family, my wife is my business partner. You know that. We are 50-50 partners in our radio stations in Susanville, California, Chico, Red Bluff, Redding. So we're kind of spread all over the North State. She is not just my life partner and my eternal partner. She's my business partner. And you talk about somebody who keeps me going. She says, I said, gosh, it's early. And she goes, for what?
So Tyler, we might have our first media mogul with us tonight.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Mini mogul. Let's say mini mogul.
There you go.
Oh man, I love it. I love it.
I love the business. You guys love doing this. I get to do this 2 hours a day live every day on 4 local radio stations. It's a blast.
Yeah.
It's a blast. Content creation is where it's at.
Well, live is scary.
Oh, that's the thing. And I view that like participating in a heavenly process. I know you think that's dumb, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Because when I have a radio station, if I go there, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. And so I get to use the tools I've been blessed with, what few there are, to try to take something and fill that space with something meaningful.
Yeah.
And therefore we get to participate in the creation process by which the world was formed, I think. Because we know that I'm sure when God saw this empty vast, he said, got to put something pretty special there. And he did. And I go to a little radio station. I have to put something special within my small limits, and that's what I try to do every day.
You know what, Cal, we've actually had this conversation before with other guests where we've talked about the value of creation, right? Right. Really, we were talking about it in the kind of in the sphere of creativity and like music, but I think all of that kind of fits that same mold, right? I mean, when we're being creative and we're trying to create something new, it pushes life, right? It pushes that vigor into that shot of adrenaline, like, shoot, I'm doing something here.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. There was something there where there was nothing. And if it goes well, then there will continue to be something there. I mean, I just finished doing a theater program where I play Santa Claus. And every day, every year I go out and sit on this stage on this beautiful theater with nothing there but the lights in this marvelous hall. And I think, if we don't do this show, there's nothing on this stage. And every time we do it, there's magic. And that's how I feel about what you guys are doing. That's how I feel when an artist picks up a brush, when a singer decides to share. That's just how it is. You take nothingness and put something special in it. How bad can that be?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I love that. There is definitely some energy that comes when you're involved in that creative process, whatever that looks like. Right. I just think that's
agreed. Yes.
There's some lifeblood.
And I think too, like, you're not only taking the nothing and creating something, but there's something about the medium. There's something about voice and the place that you have in people's lives, right? Like, you might be the first thing they hear in the morning, or you might be on playing throughout the house in the morning. Like, I think of when I hear Peter Jennings.
Oh yes,
I'm immediately taken. Great. Yeah, I'm immediately taken back when I hear voices. I'm immediately taken back to what those voices helped me experience, right? And I think that there's something powerful to that. In fact, I was just having a conversation. Somebody wants to start a podcast, right? And they're like, "What if I don't like my voice? right? And it's like, think of the voices that
join
you
the club. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world, buddy.
And I said, think of the voices that you have in your life. Think of the voices and some of the media sources that maybe you plug into throughout the day. It's not the voice. The content endears you to the voice,
And
right?
the voice makes a connection, in my opinion.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be this.
Right.
Yeah.
But Cal, I think about, I love the idea of being able to create and push that out to the masses. And I think, sometimes I'll think, I've had some conversations with Mike off the air that have just blown me away, right? Like, I'm like, oh shoot, like that there's some things that need to be said. I've had those same conversations with you sitting in a clerk's office and thinking, oh my gosh, like I need to write this down, what Cal just said to me. And I love the idea that, that you, both of your voices are out there to lots of people to be able to hear those kind of things, because I think it's unifying. I think it's inspiring. Right. And to me, it's this gift of conversation is that I think about, that we when you can sit down with someone and have a meaningful conversation with no microphones, you walk away edified and you think, oh my gosh. But to do this and broadcast that, what a special thing.
Tyler, you did that for me one time. You said, well, when I study, I always have a pencil. And I said, well, when I study scripture, I don't get a pencil out and take notes, because I figure if it's not in the written word before me, what am I going to add to it? Right. I mean, that's just me looking at it that way.
Right.
But you told me, well, I always take notes, and I'm thinking, that's really interesting that the impressions you get while you want to make sure that those are recorded. And I'm thinking to myself, when Tyler told me that, it took me back to the people who were inspired to write the scriptures in the first place. And they said, somebody's talking to me and I have to write that down.
Yeah.
That's an emulation of that same inspiration process, but on a mortal level, it seems to me. I could be wrong. It's just my thought.
I love that.
Okay, Cal, I don't want to seem stalkerish. Okay.
Oh,
but we that's an interesting qualifier, right? Cal, we worship.
I don't want to say what I'm going to seem.
Yeah. Exactly. Cal, we worship together on Sundays.
Yes, we do, and I'm grateful for that. Yes,
I'm grateful for that as well. And we actually, Tyler and I jokingly refer to these sessions as midweek church, so it's kind of cool for you to be in this space. But I watch you. You are on my list of people that I watch, because I do admire who you are, and I think it's wise to look at people a little further down the trail, right? For some models and some patterns. And I do notice you study. I notice in the sacrament, which would be like our communion, right? This idea where the emblems of the Savior and we're remembering him.
Right, body and blood. Yes.
Yeah. Can you walk me through maybe what your preparation during that sacred time looks like? Because I see intent, and I'm wondering.
Well, there are a couple of things that happen. The first thing is, before my wife and I come to church, we join hands and we say, help us be prepared for this meeting. Help us get from it what we're supposed to get and give what we're supposed to give. And kind of get us in tune here. And then we go, and I just kind of, frankly, I just kind of get my iPhone out and flip through it, or whatever it is I happen to be reading. And I just hope that I land on something. And I almost always do. That's what's amazing about that process. The study comes from intent. I want to learn something. And somewhere, someone, the great forces in the beyond, the cosmic forces, whatever you wish to call them, I know what I call them, but I don't want to seem vain, say, okay, look at this. Okay, bury your face in this. Now look up, just feel what I'm trying to tell you. Get a load of it's like, get a load of this, like somebody, a good friend says, hey buddy, get a load of this, right? And that's kind of what it is for me. I just get this overwhelming enthusiasm for what I'm learning, feeling, and hearing at that moment. And I look at my wife, and sometimes she'll have a tear in the corner of her eye, and I know she's feeling the same thing. Maybe not even on the same topic, but she's feeling the same thing. And
She's
I
getting
had
what she needs to get, and you're
exactly
getting
right.
what you need to get.
Exactly right. And I found that the hardest part about church is I've had many a person say, well, I go to church and I didn't get anything out of it. And I said to myself, well, you have got the wrong approach, man. If you're going to try to get something out of church, instead of saying, who can I help? Who can I sit by? Who can I put my arm around? Who can I express love to? You're going for the wrong reason. So go and try to, don't you think, Tyler? I mean, that's the kind of guy I see you as being. So,
I love that idea, because I think that even in the times, like if you know, as you're speaking, I'm kind of doing this like self-analysis, right? And you know, there's been many times where I've thought, gosh, I really need to be in church right now. I need something, right? And then you get there and you see someone, you're like, I need to talk to that person. And you start having that conversation and you walk away and think, that person just totally changed my right. And that was not right. I went in there kind of this selfish idea, like I have to sit here and I want to absorb what's being said from the pulpit. But the reality is, I love that idea of go to church with that mindset of who can I help? Who can I love? Who can I? And that's where we get the connection with God. I believe that 100%. I love you.
No question about it. Being prompted and having the courage to act on it at that moment. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Getting prompted is relatively easy for a while, I think. I'm just saying I should do this. I should do this. But having the courage to say now, not only should I, but now I must. That's the hardest part. That's the hardest part for me sometimes. I fail that test.
I love that prayer, right? I love that. Get what we need to get and
give what we need to
give.
Yes. That's my hope. That's our hope. And you know, we may not always do it, but that's our hope going in. And you know, she serves in the nursery and she loves working with the kids, and I sit and listen to people talk.
Yeah. But you do some teaching as well, and we appreciate that. Tyler, I don't know, I have probably shared this because we do hang out a lot, but in our building, Cal, in a particular hymnal, one day I was singing hymn number 174, and I actually took a picture of it. You're not going to be able to see it, but hymn number 174 has literally, it looks like a woman wearing mascara cried.
Oh, wow.
And has cried onto the page.
Isn't that wonderful?
And I said, in my mind, when I saw that, it was just like, that's church.
That is so powerful.
You know, someone comes to me and says, Mike, how do you get through bad church meetings? And I said, you know what? I've been doing this for a little bit, and I can count on one hand the bad church meetings I've been in.
Yeah, the really bad ones I sleep, but you know. but
Elder Uchtdorf said that's just fine, right? So
it's a day of rest. Hello.
Exactly.
But no,
yeah, it's just that preparation.
Right,
what do we bring into it, right?
Yeah, that's right. And I think I can remember sitting on the stand when I was serving in a leadership position and breaking down and weeping so much the guys next to me, like Tyler, would put their hand on my arm and say, "It's okay, man. It's okay." Yeah. And it was okay. I was just feeling so blessed and in that moment.
Yeah.
And that's what religious service should bring to us, being overwhelmed by blessings in that moment. There's nothing like it that I found.
Cal, I'm curious because I love what you're saying, and I'm curious what the thoughts that you're sharing now, how did you get to that point? When you were a young man, what did that look like at the time? Because I know that we've got people that listen to this podcast that are in different places, right? Everyone's in a different spot. And some people are light years beyond me and are, you know, and I need to find those people and sit down at their feet. And some people are wondering, what the heck? Like, how do I feel?
Yeah, you're saying where are Tyler's feet? No, I get that. So, well, let me give you just a little thing. I was born in Idaho and raised by Depression era parents. I mean, their parents were true Depression people. They traded 500 pounds of potatoes for their first car because there was no cash. And I was raised by a family. My father we had 6 kids in our family. And church was 3 times a day. We'd go, come back, you know, go and come back. So we'd have to go set up chairs. And Dad said, we're going early. I said, why, Dad? Well, we've got to set up chairs. Well, okay. In other words, it was always assumed two things. One, we were going to go. There was never a question, were we going to attend? We just went. And two, when we went, we were going to do something to add to the meeting before it even started. Make sure people had a place to sit and a hymn book, stuff like that. And that was the way that I was raised, was it by a great father whom I deeply love and miss every day, by the way, every day, who said, I don't know that he ever was all that proud of me, but I hope someday I will look him in the eye and he will say, you know what, you did all right. That's all I'm hoping for. And because this is the man he was. And my mother was the same way. When my mother died, they had a reception of all of the people whom she had introduced into the gospel. And there were like 60 people there because she was not afraid to gather Israel. But she was about talking to people, and she was great at it because these people taught and walked the walk of be impressed and act on those impressions. That's just what they did. And I don't think it was ever a moment where I said, oh, I got to do that. It was just the way my life was.
Man, I so love that. And what I love about that is the simplicity of that, right? This idea of like, we're going to go and we're going to set up chairs because that's what people need. And, and that grows into something different. I was having this conversation with my kids, and I've had this conversation dozens of times with my kids, right? Because they have extra meetings on Sundays or they have all this other stuff. And sometimes that conversation is, I don't want to go, or I don't. And I always tell them, like, the Goulds, we just serve. That's what we do. Right?
That's what we do. Yeah,
that's just what we do.
Exactly.
And I love that idea that your dad just ingrained that in you, that this is what we do. We're going to go.
When we wake up, we don't say, are we going to go to church? We just wake up and we get ready and we go. That was it. There was no discussion. Now, I did that with my kids, and some of them aren't that happy about it now. Sure. It's a different time now, obviously.
Yeah.
But our family.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it is.
It's exhausting to wake up every day and say, am I going to do what I promised to do? Am I going to be true? That's exhausting. Make the decision once and then set it.
Do I want to fight a fresh fight every day, or just have the battle already won? That's what it comes down to me. And that was the same thing with certain other things. I had to promise my dad as a young man that I would never smoke tobacco or anything else or drink alcohol. When I was 5 years old, he said, I'll give you $100 when you're 21 if you can tell me you never did that. And you know what? Throughout high school, throughout all of those times, I never crossed that barrier because my mind was made up when I was 5.
Man, I love that. Did you get that $100?
I did. Actually, he let me use his credit card to drive across the country. My job. It was great. Yeah, I got a lot more than that, but yeah. What a great thing though. Yeah.
Yeah. What a powerful conversation that a dad has with a young boy at 5.
Right? That's just stuck there.
And you think he's 5, what could possibly stick from this conversation? Everything.
Right.
Everything.
Yep. It's like the line in the movie when the girl says, I'm going to go to space, and the guy says, well, what if there's nothing out there? And she says to him, but what if there's everything?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Very powerful. And I think that was kind of probably how we all look at life sometimes. What if there's nothing out of this? And then after the conversation to your kids, they go, well, that was everything. That was my little hinge where that aspect of my life was. A lot of my life has not been perfect or even close. But on that particular principle, I've been perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. I love that. And I think that the cool thing about that is when we make those kind of
line in the sand.
Yeah, and we stick to that. I love the practice. Look, this is what I do. Because I have to constantly remind myself, right? So I'm not the smartest guy in the room. So I always have to look back and say, shoot, I have been committed to this principle, and here's all of the blessings that have come from that principle, right? And I tell people that all the time. It's like, you can use whatever that is. Someone asked me the other day, like, what did serving a mission do for you? And I'm like, what didn't it do? Like I can connect everything to that, to those 2 years and that one moment where I said, I'm going to do this thing. Right. So I love that idea that they're just these lines that we can connect the dots to and see eternal blessings from that.
Yes. And it's not always easy to teach, but it was easy for me to learn.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that.
Where in this Idaho boy's life does it become your own personal faith? It sounds like parents firm in the faith.
Yes.
Parents putting down tracks for kids to follow, but where does it become like, where do you have, and Cal, let me qualify this.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've learned is that the answer to that question is as unique as a fingerprint, right? For some, they can point to a date. And for some, they say, I don't know, I always believed, right? Like, so by me asking that, I'm not implying that there's a right answer here.
No, I get it. Well, I was always a believer and always a faithful attender. Even when I struggled in my own personal life, I never considered not being a part of what I am. I never considered that. And then I met a beautiful girl in high school. And I said, will you come over to my home? Because on Monday nights, we have a meeting with our family and we sing. And she came over there and we sang and we prayed and we laughed. And on the way home, she said, that's what I want my family to be like. Mm. And that was a convincing, reinforcing moment for me. So 52 years later, I hope that's what our family is like.
That's so awesome.
Because when she said that, I said, I get it. And I told my mother, I think I'm supposed to marry her. Donna said, my mom said, she's not even a member of the church. I said, we can fix that. and she joined the church and has been, and we lived in, I want to tell you her story really quickly. I wish she were here. She's out doing some service right now. So we were in Michigan, my first radio job in a little tiny 500-watt daytime station in Howell, Michigan. We served in a branch. And if you've ever lived in a branch, Tyler and Mike, you guys know, it's 19 callings. It's 45 hours a Sunday. It's just work. And one Sunday night, because I also did a morning show there, I had to get up at 4:00. So one Sunday night, she wakes me up at 2:00 and she has tears streaming down her face. And she says, it's really true, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And I said, yes. And that was that. And so my testimony, which had always been just going and going, collided with hers. And now here we are.
I love that visual, Cal, and I'm grateful for you sharing that. I love that visual of, because I can relate to that. I think Mike, we can all relate to that, right? Because
just like what I was saying about the fingerprint, right? Like,
yeah.
Sometimes it's and we've had the analogy of like the light switch and the rising sun, right? There's different ways, but when it hits, it's unescapable. Right?
And I can tell you, like, I feel like in my own life, I've been blessed with the gift to believe, right?
Yes.
And so for me, it's been there and it's been real but when Ricky came into my life, right, that same sort of collision, and boy, did that magnify my own beliefs and expose some things that I even felt like, shoot, I could be really stronger here in these different areas. So I love that.
I don't want her to think that about me. I've got to do better.
Yeah, exactly right. 100%. I still think that, Cal.
Yeah.
Welcome to my world every day.
That doesn't give us any hope.
Yeah, I wonder about that sometimes.
I do. I love what you said. I just want to throw a highlight on this idea of, and kind of circling back to how you started, this idea of longevity and perseverance and keep going. Like, I love when you said it was never an option to walk away. Like, it was never like, in my mind, John 6 is what I think about, right? Like, will you also go away? And Simon Peter says, where are we going to go? Right? Yeah. Like, in my mind, life.
Go to what? Go where?
Go to what? Right. Life is going to get hard, but I know it's only harder leaving him.
Well, Mike, that reminds me of our time we spent with Rachel Spencer. And it was a guest we had, Cal, that was going through some hard things. And we said, well, why didn't you leave the church? And she said, because Jesus has never left me. And I
There
just
you
loved
go.
that answer, right? It's like,
Ugh.
no matter how difficult it is,
Yeah.
he's there.
That is power. That is
Yeah.
power. That understanding is power.
Yeah,
You know,
I
getting-
agree.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Well, and
I mean,
Gordon DeWitt, a recent guest, shared with us this idea of, he says, sometimes I picture me sitting on a stump next to Jesus and we're talking, and then I make some choices and I leave the stump, and I'm always surprised to go back and see him sitting there waiting for me.
you know, I'm really glad you mentioned that, because that was something I wanted to kind of talk about. Is I think it's strange sometimes in the church, we think that the church is looking for a reason to kick us out or move us over or accuse us or something like that. In other words, we don't take Christ at his word. I came into the world not to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. And I'm thinking to myself, here I am just hoping I'll measure up. And here the Savior must be hoping I will just choose him.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
I
mean, I
agree.
know I'm never going to measure up. I can't. Otherwise, why would I need him? Right?
Yeah. I think
So-
sometimes there's this idea of we want to talk about the punitive nature of religion as
Right.
opposed to the overwhelming compassion and mercy that it is, right?
And the saving nature of
Yeah,
religion. Yes.
absolutely.
Well said.
Well,
Well said.
it reminds me of Stephen Robinson's believing Christ. So many times we believe in him, but we even believe he can do it for others, but actually believing
That's a great one.
that
Right.
he has done what he has done for us is it's a hurdle. It's a hurdle. And I'm not saying I'm there, right?
No,
there are
I'm not.
times there are times when the voice of that accuser gets in there and is like, yeah, no, not for you, man. Not for you.
Yeah.
Well, this something really wonderful happened a few years ago at a Christmas party in which a lot of former people who lived in our area had attended. And I was teaching a gospel doctrine class at that time. And in that class, I said, you know, the problem we have as members of the church is we say, yep, Jesus is the savior of the world. He's the savior of mankind. Do you suppose I'm going to make it?
Yeah.
We don't say he's my savior.
That's such a good point. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so at this party, there were 3 people who came up to me separately and said, I remember that class. It changed my life. Right? Because if we all of a sudden begin to fundamentally understand the personal nature of our salvation with the Savior, the personal nature, me, it's about me and everybody else, then our world changes and our worldview changes and our view of other people changes.
100%.
Because doesn't it? Because then we
Oh, yeah.
understand that the Christ loves them more than me, or certainly every bit as much. So
Well, and here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are,
enough,
Christmas
haven't I? Yeah.
season, right?
Yeah.
Here we are, Christmas season, and we have this opportunity to immerse ourselves in that amazing story. You know,
Yes.
I recently watched The Christ Child, short 17-minute video clip. We'll drop it in the show notes, but just so powerful. And as a parent, I'm watching Joseph
Yeah.
on this journey.
That thing, I come unhinged every time I watch it.
It
Right.
kills me, right?
Yeah.
And then Mary too, and just pondering these things in there, like, man.
Okay,
And
so now
thousands of years before and
Right.
thousands of years after, all of humanity hinging on the birth of that baby, and it's in a borrowed manger.
Yeah.
So one clip I hope you can find and put on is the Jimmy Stewart scene in Mr. Kruger's Christmas, where he's walking in and he says, oh, I know you. I knew you when my wife was dying. You know, all of this stuff. You familiar with this scene?
Oh,
Jimmy Stewart,
Yeah.
Jimmy Stewart shot it in one take,
Oh,
and
really?
it's some of the most marvelous acting he's ever done. And some of the most amazing Christ-based filming that I've ever seen. It's wonderful. And if you haven't seen it, the rest of the Mr. Kruger's Christmas is a little 70s tacky with the costumes and what have you. But if you can just find that scene and watch it, you'll be moved by it because you'll get it. You'll start to get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. Yeah.
Can I jump in here? You talk about lessons that change people. I don't know if you're going to recognize this, and to our viewers, I mean to our listeners, this isn't going to help. But like, I carry Tyler Gould. I carry a little 3x5 card with the acronym WMM across the top of my 3x5 card, and I'm still carrying this, Cal. What is WMM? What
matters most?
Yeah. So in an elders quorum lesson, so this is the where the men in our church come together. We come together on a regular basis, and Cal was teaching, and he actually asked us to list the 5 things that matter most. And
have they changed? Are they the same, or have they changed at all?
They're the same. I'm trying to change my behavior, Cal.
I know, aren't we all?
Because every day I put this in my pocket and I'm reminded of the things that matter most, and then I go live 24 hours of life, and I wish I could say that my actions lined up with the things that matter most, but that's why I guess I'm still here, right? I'm still working some things out.
I think that's why the card is, because the tactile moment is, all right, I'm going to do better on that one today.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
So thank you for this. I appreciate that. I appreciate the reminder.
You're welcome. I was honored to do it.
That's a big
deal.
So
can I ask this question, Cal? I do want to be sensitive. We talk to our guests, and then we send it out to the world, and it's going to land in people's ears. We don't want to freak you out, but we hit 42 countries last year.
Good. Freak me out. I love it. Yeah.
Our number 2 country listeners is Zambia, of all places.
Oh no, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Right. So
when we go in, we'll be recognized and be signing autographs in Zambia.
Absolutely. We're huge in Zambia, Cal. Come on.
So can't
get a few in California, but we're big in Zambia.
Absolutely. My own wife hasn't heard this show, but Zambia is loving it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Profit
awesome.
in his own land, right? Whatever.
I love it. Yeah, that's cool.
You are Mr. Keep Going, and you're talking about longevity, and it is in your DNA, and we can feel it through the screen. But somebody somewhere listening to you wants to quit. 122 people in our country, commit suicide every day. Cal, what would you say to that person who wants to not keep going, not fight the good fight, maybe walk away from their faith, maybe walk away from trying to overcome addictions, like whatever the battle is? What would you say?
From personal experience, I'm ashamed to say I have learned that the fight is worth it, that permanent solutions to temporary problems is not a wise choice, and that if you want to end up at the end of your days, of your eternal days, being happy with who you are, the best thing you can do is say, I'm going to take the next step. I have relatives who were buried along the Pioneer Trail, but many of them said, you know what, we have to leave this child in the ground and stand up and keep walking, keep going. The next step is the most important one. That's all I can say. Death is a permanent solution to temporary problems. And if you think taking your own life and giving away your most precious gift is an answer, you will find out, like most people who have tried and failed will find out, at that moment, they wish they hadn't made that choice. Keep walking. Even if the steps are that big, keep taking those steps. And remember who created you. Remember your parents. Remember, if there are people who have done wrong by you, look, I've been fired from some great jobs, and I carry that with me sometimes.
Yes.
And every few years, I've written those people a letter and say, I forgive you. Because you know what? Look at me now. I know I'm not I'm nothing, but I'm still going. I'm in my 70s. I'm a radio guy. I used to be a sports official. I've done a lot of things. I even flew in an F-18. Have you done that, Tyler?
Whoa!
I've never done that.
Yeah.
It's on my list.
Blue Angels, man.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you get sick? Did you get sick?
Oh, of course. That's their goal is to get you to barf within 45 seconds. And it works. But I mean, I have lived a very blessed life. And there have also been moments when I look in the mirror and say, you're a waste of humanity.
Yeah.
And then I realize that's the great lie and the great liar trying to convince me that I have no value. So don't give in to the lie. That's all I can say. Keep going. Wake up every morning at 4:30. Get up and go, man. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the key there is step, singular.
Yes.
Right. One leads to another. It's like Tyler Gould's hack to jogging. If I just go to the mailbox, pretty soon, might as well keep going.
Then it's the light post. Then it's the car down the street. Next thing you know, I've done 3 miles.
Next thing you know, you're like a dog chasing cars.
when you didn't want to, right? When you didn't want to even do it.
I get it. No, that's right. And all of that is true. All of that is true. The only step that matters is the next one.
Yeah, and I
appreciate that counts is the next one. Yeah.
I appreciate that acknowledgement, Cal, of that to keep going, and that there's days where you feel like I'm not worth going, right? But you just keep pushing that forward, because I was talking to someone this afternoon, as a matter of fact, who's going through a lot of stuff, and as we were talking, it was pretty dire. And then as we kind of working some things together, he said to me, well, I think the clouds are going to part. Right. And but it takes that ability to take that next step to be able to see that sunlight come through. Right. I mean, didn't Gordon B. Hinckley talk about he describes our life's journey as a train ride, right? That's covered in smoke and clouds and everything else, and every once in a while we see beautiful vistas, right? And
exactly, I love that thought. And I think he also said that it's like when you climb a mountain, when you're out on your walk in life, every once in a while you get to a peak and you stop and you admire what you've accomplished, and then you go down the next hill and you keep going, So, right?
That's it.
So that's what life is. Keep putting that next step in. Keep taking steps. Don't stop. Someday the tap will come on my shoulder and someone will say, okay, check please, Cal, time to come home. But I don't want to stop until that happens. I don't want me tapping on my own shoulder. I want it to be someone else's call, not mine. Right?
So can I ask, because the temptation could be there for you to rest. You could look back and look at the things that you've done, and you could say, I'm good. It's time to go to pasture. Right. How do you, it's similar to the conversation that we had about staying young at heart. How do you stay hungry? How do you continue to learn and drive?
By fearing death.
Just run from it.
Just keep going, man. No, honestly, I mean, I'll give you an example. I just got a commercial drone that takes video. And I got that because I thought, now that would be a cool thing to learn. So that's what I do. I just try to keep opening up new doors and trying new stuff and, doing things that give me joy. And in that, finding a way to serve other people. Because ultimately, if I don't serve people with what I do, there is no point to my existence.
Yeah. It's funny because, Cal, we were talking before you came on. I was telling Mike, there's this song that I've been listening to, and there's a couple versions. There's the Willie Nelson version, the Toby Keith version. It's called "Don't Let the Old Man In."
Yes.
And you know the song? Yeah, I love it. And there's a line in that song that says, "Ask yourself how old you would be if you didn't know the day you were born."
Yeah.
And I love that thought, right? Like, you said I'm in my 70s. Cal, you're the same age you were when you and I were sitting together in a clerk's office. Nothing's changed. And but I think that idea of just continue to push forward, continuing to learn, to continue to progress.
Yes.
To me, progression is that key.
That's the thing. The time will come when you have to stop.
Yeah.
And when that time comes, I hope I can do that with dignity rather than kicking and screaming. But up to that time, I want to be able to say, I've done everything I could do. I've learned everything I can learn. I've had every talk I was supposed to have. I've looked in every eye. I've told every person I can that I love them. That's what I want to be able to say when it's over.
Man, I love that.
Yeah, let's keep going.
I love
Hey,
that.
did that Idaho kid have any idea when he asked that beautiful young woman to come to his house on a Monday night, did he have any idea the lives that were in the balance and that his
No.
ship had just come in?
No. I knew I struck it lucky that she liked me. I knew that. I got that part. But I did not really know where we would end up. Now I look at my wife, and she's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life, always. And, sometimes my mouth just hangs open. She goes, stop it. Just stop it. And so I had no idea. I knew that I loved her. I knew we were going to have a lot of kids because I wasn't interested in a lot of things. I was interested in a lot of people. I knew we were going to do that. We started off thinking 12, and when the 9th one came, we looked at each other and said, okay, we're good, but that was, so we knew that. And I know I can remember laying on my back by an irrigation ditch with my dad. And he said, have you ever thought of being one of those guys on like the radio or something? This was back when I was 10 or 11. And I hadn't. Although I knew I wasn't going to be a farmer. I didn't want to do that. It was just too much for me. I didn't want to do it. So I thought, well, my dad just gave me a way out. And so I did that. And I don't think I've ever accomplished anything that would be Peter Jennings-esque. When he died, he had millions of dollars in the bank and a worldwide legion of followers. When I die, I'll have tens of dollars in the bank and like 8 people. And that's okay.
But you know what, Cal?
Okay.
I love, I love your humility there, by the way, and I'll point that out because what I will say is that Mike and I have this conversation a lot. Mike, we talk about being collectors of people, right? And
Yep.
I can see a line in my head of people that Cal has influenced, and I'm at the head of that line, right? And I count myself as one of those. So I love that the way that you've lived your life, and you talked about I'm not interested in a lot of things. I was interested in a lot of people, meaning your kids, but there's a whole lot more people that have been gathered together because of your good works.
There are people that listen. There are people that watch. And there are people that know you, and I think in the end, there's nothing stronger than being in a place where we've served other people, right? Because the heart will never forget that. Never forget
exactly
that.
Right. Exactly right.
But I appreciate one of the things that's been on my mind just in this season of life is like, I want to live great, but I do want to die great, and I admire this drive. Like I want to be anxiously engaged when that tap on the shoulder comes.
Yep.
Right. Like, oh, it's time.
Yeah. I want. I mean, yeah. When the type comes, oh, really now? Oh, come on. But I was just
about to. I'm in the middle of something here.
Exactly. Hello. Give me a minute here. Right.
I'm in the middle of something. Not yet. Five more minutes, Mom. 5 more minutes.
Right. Exactly. And I think we've all been blessed with relative good health, with a lot of good things, but mostly we've been blessed with great people. I wear this beard because I've done the Cascade Christmas show. I played Santa Claus for 17 years.
Wow.
And the number of people I have met and just loved over that period of time is staggering to me. It's amazing. So that's what it's all about. Just keep going out there and doing good things and finding a way to do something that's been done different and better. And Tyler, that's something you're really good at, I know.
Well,
just
Cal,
and Mike, you too.
When I saw you at our very first trek play the role of Brigham Young.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
that was fun.
That was.
I wish I was there for that. That would have been.
That was moving.
That was powerful because when I think any person who acts, and I'm not a good actor, but a good actor will tell you that that character consumes you for a brief moment. If you really have done your studying and you know what you're doing, it consumes you for just a brief moment. And I really felt that at that time. I just felt like when it was done, I was going like, who was that? What was that all about?
Yeah,
it was really cool. Really cool.
So cool.
Yeah. It was really great. Yeah.
So Cal, you
That's
talk about kids and you talk about Dawn in your life. Can you share with us a memory? Can you paint a picture of somewhere in this journey, 52 years she's been with you?
Well, let me think.
Well, you guys have been together for a little while, right?
Yeah. And there's so many. I mean, gosh, I was just thinking.
Can you paint a picture of when you looked around and thought, right here, right now, this moment is rich?
This is it, huh? Yeah. Let me think if there was ever a time like that. I know it was at least 3 of our kids' weddings. So it was at those occasions. Yes.
Yeah.
When we're standing on the stairs of the temple or we're at a reception and people are coming by and looking at your children and we're looking into each other's eyes and going, man, do you remember when that was us?
So
You know?
cool. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Love that.
There was
love that.
And then the moment I was called to serve as a bishop, that was a truly defining moment for me, because at the end of my first day of service, everybody had left the building. I've told this story a billion times, so forgive me. And I walked around the building and locked the doors, and I was just really embracing that moment. And as I prepared to leave, I felt this tug. Just stay just a little longer. Just sit here for a second and enjoy this. We're here with you. Just enjoy this moment. And that was a changing moment for me, because I realized that there are holy places all over, dedicated spaces that are meant for worship, and the Spirit will testify to you in any of them and more, any place it needs to happen. But it was such a blessing. And I told my wife about that, and she welled up and said, you're where you're supposed to be. Yeah. What a wonderful thing. What a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Well, Tyler, when I hear that, it makes me think of the conversation that we've had about ordinary spaces made sacred.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where we've been in places where you drive by them a million times and you don't notice anything, but we had something happened and we had a moment that is unforgettable, and you look down and it's almost like, take your shoes off, son, because like where you are is now sacred, and no one and the people involved in those experiences will never forget what just happened.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Cal, the world is changing on a daily basis. We are rapidly moving in several different directions. Yeah. I'm curious, what gives you hope these days?
People who understand that values matter. In other words, that values are called values because they are valuable. Therefore, people who get that principles, that matters of who we are, our identities, that all of those things matter most. And those people who want us to forget it want us to lose the battle of life. So that's what I get out of this. Is if the world's going to change, the world can change, but that doesn't mean I have to. If people want to be confused over basic things, they can do that. That doesn't mean I have to be confused. It doesn't mean I have to give in to their misunderstanding. So that's and I realize that sounds like an aggressive thing to say, but it kind of is. And I'm okay with that.
There's something about being anchored to eternal principles.
Exactly. Right.
And I think that it sure provides clarity in a time where clarity's it's not on every street corner, right?
What's right is always going to be right. Yeah. And what's wrong is always going to be wrong. And no matter who's trying to convince you otherwise, that's not going to change. I'm a news guy. Facts are facts.
Yeah.
Facts are facts.
I love that you said they're called values because they're valuable. I love that.
There you go.
I love that.
Well, and I think of the content, what are the materials that we're using to build this life? And if we have shoddy materials, stuff's going to get shaky and
Right.
stuff's going to fail, right? And
Yep, you got it.
and great shall be the fall thereof of
Right,
the house, right? But if
right,
if we are built on a rock, if we are built on a foundation, a sure foundation which will not fail, then as we take those values, and those are the building blocks that we build our families, in the end, when the storms, because storms coming to everybody.
Oh boy, yeah.
You're not going to get exempt from that.
Right.
But as you understand and apply these values and these eternal principles of truth, like truth by things as they were, things as they are, and things as they will be, right?
Yeah.
Then that
and don't be ashamed of what you know and who you are.
yeah.
Don't be ashamed of what you know. If you know it,
and
don't
repent.
Stand up and say, I know it. Yeah.
And repent when we're wrong.
Yes,
right?
Which of course in my case is rare. But anyway. In all my humility.
Hey Cal, can you name something that you have learned the hard way?
Mostly lessons about finance, about money, finances. I learned the hard way because I was married very young and did not get any good training on how to handle money well. Let's just say I started airing Dave Ramsey on one of my radio stations, and I said, where do I sign? Right? Yeah. Where do I sign? Basic money handling. Debt is bad. Credit cards are bad. Take care of your business, and your business will take care of you. You know, those are the hardest lessons for me, because it was just, and now that I run my own business, it's much simpler. And I decided to apply those principles in my life. I seriously said, hey, dog, the wonder dog is giving me an alert. So economics was a big change. And I would think if people in our world truly understood how money worked, their lives would be much simpler. They'd be much subject to temptation, to stress, to pain. If they started to get that, the world would change. It nearly broke our marriage apart. I'm not proud to say. It was really hard. And then when we both finally got it, okay, now the airplane's up in the air. We're not flying low. We're not always clipping trees. Everything's fine, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it took a long time to get there. So
well, that's very relatable, right? I think all of us sitting here on this podcast can talk about the times that have stressed those meaningful relationships most are probably financial times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think so. Yeah.
Cal, looking back, I know we just talked about, the lessons learned the hard way. We talked about finances, but if we could take that answer out and you're looking back on your younger self, you and Donna, arm in arm, right? You're ready to start this adventure together. What advice, few years down, you've been a few miles down the road now, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Take your time. There's no hurry about anything. Mm-hmm. There's no hurry about having a lot of kids. There's no hurry about getting a house. There's no hurry about getting a new car. There's no hurry about anything. Just enjoy each little baby step. Instead of thinking I must run as fast as I can to the next thing, just enjoy the little daily adventure, because that was always been hard for me. And I think that's one thing I get to do much more now than I ever have, is just think, what this moment that we're in is more important than any moment I've had up to this point today, right? Yeah. So embrace, it's cliche to say it's the journey, not the destination. Actually, it's both. If you don't have a destination, the journey has no point. So you really need to appreciate the fact that you're on a marvelous journey that will have a marvelous destination. And if you don't enjoy the journey, what's the point? I mean, just relax and enjoy it. That was so hard for me. I'm a very impatient person, we could say.
That's great advice. And we've had this conversation, Mike and I, together about just kind of deleting timelines from things and trying to be more like in the present and just appreciative of where you are and what you're experiencing. That's a hard thing to do, isn't it?
It is. But you've got to ask yourself, okay, we got to do this. Then I said to myself one time, or what?
Yeah.
If I don't happen to get that done by 3 o'clock this afternoon, what's going to happen? Is the world going to stop spinning? Is my car going to blow up? Is my dog going to die? Nothing. Nothing's going to happen. So just relax.
Yeah.
Or
what?
Or what?
Yeah,
Right.
I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Well, we should, right? The danger of should.
Yes.
Who says we should, right? Like we have these expectations kind of thrown on us,
Yes.
or like
Yeah.
we're drinking the Kool-Aid or something.
Well, it's like when people are coming to the house and you say, we got to paint the house. Well, really? Do your guests come so they can see what a good painter you are? Or do they come to look you in the eye and embrace you and say, can we share some time together? What really matters in that adventure, right? Is it the paint or the
That's
people?
so funny because,
Yeah.
Abe left for Brazil. We had a little open house and we're running around and our time with Abe is limited. Like we are running out
Right.
of time and
But
we're
you got to make
Right.
sure the house looks immaculate. Abe,
Oh,
sit in the
the
corner.
the paint, get the power washer. Go, go,
and
go.
Abe the whole time is like, what's going on here?
Right. Who
You know, like,
cares?
Who
Well,
cares?
it's interesting. I was having a conversation with someone a couple months ago, and they have a son that is serving a mission currently in London, somewhere in the UK, and
cool.
he said his son's just a hard worker. He's working hard and he's grinding. He's doing everything that he can possibly do. And he said that he was talking to his son on a P day, and his son said to him, my mission president sat me down and said, Elder, are you having joy in the work that you're doing?
Boom.
And his son said, no, I'm not. and it's because I've been so caught up in these, like, checking these boxes and grinding these things out. And his goal was at the time that he was talking to his son said, my goal is just to find the joy in the work that I'm doing. And I love that idea because I get caught up in that as well. I have this idea that I need to accomplish these things. And once these things are accomplished, then I'll be in a good spot and we'll be okay.
But what if you don't?
But what if you don't? Yeah.
What?
Or what? Right? Or what? And it's interesting because I currently I get to, I have the opportunity to serve with missionaries in the San Diego mission. And we talk about utilizing social media and technology for sharing the gospel.
Sure.
And I'm in meetings all the time throughout the week with these missionaries. And last night we were talking, and all these missionaries are talking about these things that we're doing. We're doing this. We're doing. And I said, are we having joy in what we're doing? Is there joy in what we're doing? It was like silence. Like, wait. Is that part of this? Is that something we're supposed to do?
I mean, if you watch the Chosen, which you get these apostles that are all going and then you get the Lord who goes and ministers and really shows the joy in serving other people.
Yeah.
And I don't ever hear him say, let's see, Matthew, you got that checklist I gave you? I mean, I don't get that attitude.
And
I get the attitude
that?
That's a great point.
And where does that come from? And how can we check ourselves, right? Because I think that the challenge with that is, how do I gain Hal's perspective?
Yeah.
Right. So because let's say I'm in this season of my life and I'm grinding, because we've all been in that season where it's like, and I got to get the career, and I got to get, and then
got to get my retirement kept up.
My kids are going to ask about college funds, and they're going to, it's like all the things, right? It's like, and so-and-so's driving a nice car, so I guess I got to get a nice car. It's like, how can we check ourselves? Like, where can I turn for peace, right? Where can I turn for, like, get a grounding, right? To get my bearings, because it's in the air sometimes, this pace to life, this hurry to life. And I know in an instant, if my phone rang and said, boom, there's a diagnosis here, Mike, I'm looking at some test results, you've got 6 months left, all of this would fade into, like, this is pointless. All of these things I've been spending precious time on,
that you think really matter,
would
you
instantly
really matter. Yeah. And at the end of the day, are your kids going to say, I wish dad had just another 2K in his retirement account? Right? Or they're going to say, I wish dad would have taken me, I don't know, fishing or to an A's game, or I don't care, whatever it is. Yeah.
Well,
So,
I think, it's interesting that you guys say that, because I have conversations with people a lot on the professional side of things that are in the race, right? Where they're in the race. Like, it's the next promotion, it's the next whatever it is, right? But I think that what I've learned in 150 episodes of conversations that I've had here, and a lot of those people are in the race, but when they're here, it's like, gosh, that stuff doesn't matter, And I think that when we sit down and we just kind of let the dust settle for a second, I think that we can all look each other in the eye and go, I have a pretty good idea of what's really important. But sometimes I get out into the world and it's like, you get caught up in this like mob mentality where you're like, yeah, I don't have a Porsche. What in the world is wrong with me? Right?
Now, there's nothing wrong with having a Porsche, but
no, I really want one.
yeah. Well, see, but you need a card, Tyler, that says what matters most, and you need to put it in your pocket.
I do.
And you need to remind yourself when you reach in there and go, dang, that Porsche matters more than my wife, more than Ricky, more than no, it really doesn't. Yeah. I'll tell you a quick story. My wife has always
really quick. Yeah. I don't want to cut you off from the story.
No, go ahead.
I just want to point out on my card, Tyler, of the 5 things that Cal asked us to list, the word relationships is in 4 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Is money in there, Mike?
Money is not in here, Cal.
Is Porsche in there?
Porsche is not, but if I had a number 6, maybe.
No, see, my wife has always wanted a Thunderbird. She's always wanted one. And every car we've gotten, I've just bought the family car. And she says, you do fine. One day, I went by a used car lot and I saw a cheap Thunderbird. And I went and I said to myself, dang it, I think I have enough cash to buy this car. And I went and talked to the guy and he said, yeah, we can, blah, 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 So I went to my bank, I got the cash, I called Donna up and said, would you come to this car lot, please? And I said, would you take this car for a drive? And she said, don't toy with me. And so guess what? She now has a 2003 Thunderbird, and it wasn't a big deal. It just happened organically.
Right.
It just happened. I didn't say, I got to get a bird. It just happened.
Yeah.
And now she's happy with that thing. It's just the thing. We all know that. And it gives her joy. And it gave me joy to be able to do it. So just relax, man. Just relax.
Yeah.
The people are the
just
thing.
Relax.
Yeah, just enjoy this. I had a boss one time who said, I am not looking for an excuse to fire you. I'm trying to find a way to make you a better worker. And I thought, well, that's what God says to me. Yeah. I'm not trying to find an excuse to fire you, Cal. I just want to make you better, right?
Well, Cal, I am going to use this little portion of our podcast to present to my wife in my argument for a Porsche. So.
Ricky, would you just score one for me? Let's get it over
with the big red bow on it for Christmas Day, right?
Yeah, come on. That seems to happen all the time to everyone else.
When she does, make sure that you have a good relationship with a mechanic, because I've worked on many a Porsche.
Yeah, for sure. That's funny.
Can you? I love our time together, talking and gaining some perspective, Cal. I appreciate that. Talk to me a little bit about lessons that parenthood has taught you.
Okay.
Because as a parent, as a father, I've learned more as a father about my relationship with my Heavenly Father.
Yes.
Right.
What parenthood has taught me is love your children no matter what. Don't let them know that they make a choice you don't like. Let them know that as an adult, I'm talking about adult kids now. As adults, it is their right and you love them anyway. And you would rather have them do whatever it is they want to do than no longer love their family. And I'll tell you, we have 9 kids. They've all gone their own way. Some have gone away I would choose for them. Others have not. But when we have a family reunion, all 9 are there.
Mm.
They're all there because they want to be, because they're willing to sacrifice. So that's the first thing that parenthood has taught me is you can have all the expectations you want, but until you learn to just love your kids for what they have become, not for what you wish they would become, but for what they have become, you're missing the boat. Love your kids for what they are. If they're faithful, strong members of your faith, great. If they're not, great. They're still your kids. Love them, and let them know that you do. That's the thing. That's just the thing. That's the biggest lesson it's taught me. And by the way, the other is get on the same page with your spouse when it comes to matters of principle and discipline. Be on the same page, or you will have a rough time with your kids. Get on the same page.
Yeah.
Agree on what you want to have happen. Yeah.
Amen. Yeah.
Those are my big things.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that from the perspective of old adult children, right? Because Tyler, we're always talking about like, oh, this is a little bit of different game because a lot of the tools that we had available to us when they were younger are not available anymore.
Yeah.
And they're not interested in watching you pick them up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, Dad's got that tool again. Well, I don't care about that.
Yeah. So I we talk about influence, and there's no stronger influence on this planet than love, especially love no matter what.
Love wins. And if you don't believe, I just found a wonderful Churchillian quote that I wish I knew all of it, but the principle stuck with me. All great things are simple, and many can be defined in one word: honor, justice, dignity, love.
Yeah.
Great things are simple, can be defined in one word. And that's just so powerful to me, because I think this is what the Lord tried to tell us, love your neighbor, love people, love them. Yeah. So that's really important.
That's been a prevailing theme tonight, Cal, and you've explained that well. And
thank you.
One of the things you talked about was being able to look people in the eyes and tell them that you love them. And man, that's a game changer. That is a game changer for people.
Yes.
And it can turn a lot of things right if we
especially if you mean it. If you don't mean it, don't say it. But if you do, don't be afraid.
And there's not a condition attached to that, right?
No. Just look them in the eye and say, listen, I love you. Just say it, because it's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
So Cal, we've talked change. We talked a little bit about the frenetic pace and the hustle, and maybe focusing on things and not people, and the dangers with that.
Yes,
there's a lot to deal with today in the load that we're carrying. How do you deal?
Simplify. Decide what I'm willing to do and what I'm not. And what I'm not willing to do, I have to be honest and say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry, I cannot help you do that way. I may find another way I can, but I have to learn to say kindly no. That's how I deal with it. The social pressures in my community where I live, there's pressures to be in service clubs. I've joined 2 of them, and I can't stay. I can't be in them because I have too many other things going. So then they say, well, can you do this? I would say, I'm sorry, I can't. It's not that I don't support the cause. I can give you a little money, but I cannot give you my time. So you have to be honest with yourself and with the people you love enough to say, I can't do that. What else can I do? I just can't do that. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong.
That reminds me of Essentialism by Greg McKeown. He makes this closet analogy, right? Can you imagine waking up, opening up your closet, and there's 50 things in there that you didn't want that someone put in there? If we don't say no to things, pretty soon our life gets cluttered with these things that we don't want to do. And we talk about finding the joy. There is no joy in doing these things, and then pretty soon we're filling our precious time doing other things for other people and finding no joy.
And that applies to almost everything we've discussed. If you don't want a debt, then just say, I'm not going to buy a new car. No, I'm not going to do that. I get why people do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do this. That's a intuitive to me. In other words, just be willing to say, yeah, no. And there's no harm in that. If it's honest, other people will respect you more for saying no because it's something you couldn't do anyway than they would if you said no, said yes and didn't do it. So I've found that to be true. So
yeah, it's that principle of over commit and under deliver, right? We don't want to be in that
horrible.
Position. Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah. Flip that, right? Flip that.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Well, and so many times too with that, with matters of faith, right? Like he knows the heart. Why be there if your heart isn't there? Why do the thing? Why do the good thing if your heart's somewhere else, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and the reason is because eventually your heart will follow.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that I get what you're saying, but yes, the commitments in the business world, in the carnal world, we just don't need more. We need fewer. We don't need more complications. We need fewer. We don't need more complicated ways to trade money. We need simple things to do that make money. The simple investments, simple things. Simplify, learn to say yes to what's good and true, and learn to say no to what is not. That's just my view.
My friends, that's why I like In-N-Out Burger, because they don't do chicken nuggets.
Exactly right.
They do burgers.
They know better.
They just do burgers. You want a burger? Go to somebody who just does burgers.
And I don't know. I'm hungry. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I know. You just brought that up. I thought, dude, I don't think I've eaten dinner tonight. That sounds pretty dang good.
Thanks a lot. Yeah. Or maybe it's Chick-fil-A.
Well,
Yeah.
hey, Cal, we have been at it a little bit, and it might be dinner time. I want to circle back to your Idaho roots and those wonderful parents you shared.
Oh boy, yeah.
How do you honor mom and dad today?
The first thing I do is whenever I'm in Utah, I visit their grave and I kneel down beside it and I kiss their headstone and I feel their spirit and I tell them thank you. And then in my daily oblations, when I pray, I thank God for my parents. And I say, if they're by me, tell them I love them. And I look at my mother's picture every day and I say, hi, Jeannie, how are you? And I look at my dad and say, I miss you. That's what I do. Because they left such an impression on me. If every parent in the world were like my folks, we just wouldn't have what's happening in the world today. My kids would be a lot better. Everyone's kids would be better. These were genuinely hardworking, committed people. They moved to Oakland. We moved to the Hayward in the Bay Area when they were starting to build the Oakland Temple of the church. And this is in the days when the Temple District had to raise 10% of the money. And that was an expensive building. At that same time, our ward was building a new building, and we had to raise 10% of that building. Wow. My parents bought more casseroles that they made and took to dinners than I can imagine, because they knew that's what it would take. And they didn't care. They did not care. They just said, this is what we do.
Can you imagine today, Tyler? Can you imagine today if our soft people were asked to raise 10% of a cost of a building?
Oh man,
we can't get the building cleaned on a Saturday.
Exactly. They just have a kitten. So no, and that's just what we did. And this was how my parents were. They didn't ask questions. If the Lord said, I can remember being in a meeting once when they were short, and my uncle was the bishop, and he was saying, we're a little short. And my dad stood up and said, well, I got $100 I can toss in the middle of a sacrament meeting. Yeah. And next thing you know, everybody's standing up and going, well, I got money. We can do this. By the end of that meeting, the money was raised and the building was ready to be built. And why? Because people of honor and commitment said, that I'll put my energy behind. I will put my energy behind that. And they did. And they were blessed because of it. So there you go. Yeah, I just loved them so much. Their name was Boyd and Jean. My dad was a school teacher. My mom was a real estate salesperson, really good one. And she also was a hairdresser. And they were just hardworking, honest people. They left Idaho. They were so angry because they sold a 180-acre farm in Idaho for like $15,000 and went to the Bay Area and bought a house for $16,000, 1,600 square feet. And they were beside themselves when they died. That house sold for $1.2 million. So right. Yeah. So it's just funny how things, but if you just relax and play the long game, things have a way of working out.
Yeah.
Be patient.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Cal, we talked about. We'll just make this like a Jimmy Stewart kind of reference tonight, right? We talked about we talked about Mr. Krueger's Christmas, and of course the title of this show is taken from one of Mike and I's favorite holiday movie, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes, just watched the night before last. Yeah.
Oh yeah, my we love the irony of that movie. We love the struggle that is James Stewart's or Jimmy Stewart's character, and George.
Everyone's life has that moment.
Yeah.
Everyone's life has that moment when they think, I have no value. What am I doing here? Right. For most men, it's at the age of either 40 or 50. I had a terrible midlife crisis. Terrible. I remember waking up and thinking, this is all it's going to be. And then when it was over, I looked and said, yeah. And if that's all it's going to be, it's not so bad. Right?
Cal, I love that because, you talk about, in that movie, George obviously feels like he has no value and he doesn't belong. He wishes he was never born. Right. And at some point he finds himself back on that same bridge, praying to live again. Right. And to be reunited with those things that are important to him. We love that. We love the imagery of that and the irony of that film. And we love that he's toasted at the end as the richest man in town, given all of the problems that he has.
Yeah.
Now we've loved our time with you, and I'm so grateful for you. But what does it mean to you, Cal, to be considered the richest man in town?
I'm cynical of that because I'm one of those people who would honestly say, and then what? Because I have a wonderful life. I have a great wife who loves me. I have children who love me. I have grandchildren, 20 of them, 5 great grandchildren. I have brothers, and I've lost one brother. He died last year, but I've got 5 brothers and sisters. I have people who love me and whom I love. And so at the end of the day, for me, that's really all I'm concerned about. Is we went to my brother's funeral. We filled up a cultural hall in a church, holds about 400 people. I've never felt the level of loving energy as I did at that funeral. And I thought to myself, there's something to this whole love thing, right?
Yeah.
And if I could ever get that really figured out and really tap into that energy, then I really will be the richest man in town.
Yeah, I love that answer, Kyle. Well, I can tell you this: we love you. We love you.
I love you guys. I love you guys. Thank you.
We're so grateful for you. This has been such a blast tonight. I've loved getting to see your face again and talk to you again, and even with that beard,
it's coming off. I'm going to take a beard break, but you're Santa Claus, you got to have a beard. That's the rules.
It's been great tonight, and I'm grateful for the wisdom that you've shared and for the opportunity that I've had to learn a few things tonight. So thanks, Cal, so much.
You guys are the best. Thank you for the privilege of being on here. It's been an honor. Thanks.
Well, Cal, I get to rub shoulders with you all the time, but tonight definitely feels different. I feel sharpened.
Yeah.
Right? Well, good.
Hanging out and rub.
As do I.
I really do appreciate, and I mean everything that I say to you and to your family, what you mean to the Freemans, what you mean to the Redding area, heck, the Northern California community. You are loved, and I thank you for those times when you might have been tempted to quit or to stop, and that idea of longevity and love wins is a beautiful, beautiful thought, because in today's day and age, I think a lot of people are asking, does anything last?
Right. And we know the answer, don't we?
Actually, because the answer to your question, and I remember your lesson, the answer to the question, what matters most, is that which lasts longest. Amen. And I'm touched that you are a dutiful son, still talking about the love that you have for your parents, because we know that there is no end to that, right? And that's what we should be chasing.
I'm feeling that right now from them. I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
So thankful. You guys, this has been a high privilege, and all the best and continued success. And Mike, more football next year, yeah?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. And it feels weird to say Merry Christmas to Santa Claus, but Cal, Merry Christmas to you and to the Hunter clan.
All the best to you and your families. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you all.
Merry
Thanks
Christmas.
to all of you, even those of you in Zimbabwe. Thank you. Bye.
Love you, Cal.
Good idea, Ernie. A toast to my big brother George, the richest man in town.